So which weapons should you be using on your Nefer? This video is going to be a weapons tier list for Nefer. We're just going to go through all of the different catalysts in the game and then rank them based around which of them is going to provide the best value and more damage for Nefer. And obviously we're going to explain why. Before we continue that though, if you're trying to get some of her good weapons, her signature, or Nefer herself, I'd recommend getting your Genesis crystals through LDshop.gg. LDshop is a cheap, fast, and safe game top-up website that offers top-ups for many games, including Genshin Impact. As you guys can see here, these are the offers they have for Genshin, and all of them are cheaper than the official game store, starting off from 15% cheaper and even more. For example, we can see that 3,280 Genesis crystals offer. It costs $50 in the official game store, but here it only costs $39.10. That's 10.89 or more than 21% saved by using LDshop. They also have many other things like bundles, character outfits, Welkins, and stuff like that. But yeah, when you want to buy, you just click on the offer you'd like to choose. For example, I'm going to buy the 300 crystals offer. You only need to enter your server region and user ID. Obviously, make sure they're right and then click on top up. And then you just choose your payment method and then enter your details and then just pay. Shortly after that, you'll just receive the crystals in your account. And right now, if you use my link, you'll get a 15% off coupon and also an extra 5% off. That can save you up to $50. They also have more cool things on the website. For example, if you spend more than $80, that can allow you to win a free Welkin. You can go and check it out yourself. Click the link in the description or the pinned comment and top up now. Alright, so back to the video, I'm going to explain what she needs on the weapon first before we start with the tier list. So Nefer is mainly just going to be a Lunar Bloom main DPS, and most of her damage is going to be considered Lunar Bloom damage. So that means probably the first thing you're going to need on her in general is going to be Elemental Mastery. That's going to be your main thing you're going to want to look for on a weapon and for her builds in general. The next thing is going to be crit rate and crit damage, probably crit rate first and then crit damage. You definitely want to get that first because your damage can crit, and obviously you don't want to miss this out. And then finally, you'd want some attack. Now attack is not going to be that useful, but she still scales with attack, both in the Lunar Bloom damage and then also in the her actual just multipliers. But the thing is, attack scale is not going to be that big, and also when you get Elemental Mastery, it's also going to be converted to attack from her passive. So it's probably a better idea to just focus on Elemental Mastery in general and then just get whatever attack you can. It's not going to hurt, but any Elemental Mastery is usually going to be better than attack. So just focus on Elemental Mastery, getting crit rate and crit damage, and attack is not going to hurt. It's obviously going to help you out a little bit, but it's not going to be that important. But yeah, that's the main things you want to look for on a weapon, really. She's just like a basic main DPS. You just want Elemental Mastery instead of attack, and that's pretty much it. Knowing that, let's move on to the tier list and rank the weapons. Alright, so starting off with the 3-star weapons, as I said before, attack in general is not going to be super important for her, so even weapons with low base attack are not really going to be that bad. Obviously, preferably you'd want weapons with a high base attack too, because she still scales with attack a little bit, but it's not going to hurt that much. So 3-star weapons are going to be valid too. Starting off with the magic guide, it's going to give you a very decent amount of elemental mastery, so honestly you could just use it as an elemental mastery stat stick, especially in early game. So I just put it at B tier. Thrill and Tales is just HP, so I put it at D tier. Otherworldly Story, D tier 2. Emerald Orb, it's also Elemental Mastery, but it's going to be a very low amount, so I just put it at C tier. Same thing with Twin Nephrite, it's going to be crit rate, which is useful, but it's going to be a very small substat, so I'd also put it at C tier. And then finally, Amber's Bed, basically also the same thing. If you want to use a 3-star, I just recommend using the Magic Guide. You're basically using them as a stat stick, so just get the better stat stick. So I put Amber's Bed at C tier 2. Alright, now moving on to the 4-star options. Favonius Codex is just going to be energy recharge. It's not really the weapon you'd want for Nefer at all, so I'll probably put it at D tier. The Wit set is going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be a good stat stick. First of all, it's just going to give you crit damage, which is pretty good, and then the passive is going to give you either attack, damage bonus, or elemental mastery, which are all technically useful. Elemental mastery is obviously going to be the best stat to get, but this is going to be only 1/3 of the time, so it depends on your luck. Attack is going to be a little bit useful, and then elemental damage bonus is also going to be useful slightly too, because Lunar Bloom I think scales with elemental damage bonus a little bit, so all of the stats here are going to be useful. But the biggest main stat you'd want to look for is going to be elemental mastery, and you have a 30% chance of getting it. I usually don't like the wit set in general. I just think it's too random for my liking. You cannot even build around it. It's not like other weapons where you can get a weapon and you know you have enough attack from the weapon, so then you focus on other things. No, with the wit set you never know what you're getting, and it's usually not good. So I'd just keep it at B tier. It's definitely usable, but I wouldn't really recommend it. The sacrificial, you can basically use it as just an elemental mastery stat stick, which is pretty good. You can also give you a skill cooldown reset, which can be a little bit useful. But in general, it's not really the weapon you want to use. It's just like an elemental mastery stat stick. I'd keep it a very low B tier, pretty much the same thing as like the 3-star magic guide, but yeah, I wouldn't really recommend going for it. Royal Grimoire is just attack, probably like C tier. Solar Pearl, it's just a crit rate stat stick basically, and then it's going to give you some elemental skill and burst damage bonus, which is not really that important, so I'll probably keep it a low B tier too. Broad type Amber is just HP, so it's going D tier. Mappa Mare, it's going to give you a small amount of elemental mastery, and then some elemental damage bonus, which is a little bit useful too. It's definitely usable, but it's not really the weapon I would recommend. It's just a small amount of elemental mastery, a small amount of damage bonus, a high base stack for 4-star, but it's not going to be that important for Nefer. Probably keep it like low B tier too. I think that's probably the right place for it, but in general, I wouldn't really recommend using. Blackcliff Gate, it's basically just a crit damage stat stick. Even if you could get the attack bonus, it's not really going to matter as much, so I'd also keep it next to Solar Pearl at low B tier. Hive Perception, just attack, basically probably like C tier. Wine and Song Energy Recharge, D tier. Frostbearer, C tier, is basically just attack. Dodoko Tails is gonna be like just attack, and then it can increase your charge attacks damage, which is gonna be a little bit decent, but in general it's mainly just an attack stat stick, so I would probably put it at C tier. I think that's probably the right place still. Hakshin Ring is just energy recharge, so I'll just throw it D tier. Oathsworn Eye, it just attack, C tier too, like low C tier. Wandering Even Star is gonna increase your elemental mastery, which is pretty good, and then also basically does the same thing as your passive, which is convert your elemental mastery to attack. And since you're going to be building quite a bit of elemental mastery on her, that's going to be a little bit useful, which is pretty good. It can also buff your team a little bit. I definitely still wouldn't say use this weapon, but it's definitely usable in general, so I'll probably put it a low B tier too. For fulfillment, it's mainly just energy recharge. The passive is just long for nothing. It's basically just elemental mastery but less attack, which is also not good. I'll probably throw it like low C tier just for the passive, but in general it's not the weapon you want to use. Sacrificial Jade is going to be giving you crit rate and then also some elemental mastery, which is pretty decent, but obviously it's going to be just for 10 seconds, so keep that in mind. But in general, it's a pretty usable weapon. Honestly, I put it at the top of B tier for now. I think that's probably the best weapon here. You can use it mainly as a crit rate stat stick and then some elemental mastery, especially with refinements. It's going to be pretty decent. So yeah, it's either high B tier or low A tier in general, depends on like the refinements, but in general I could keep it at like high B tier. Flow and Purity, basically just attack, so it's going to C tier. Ballad of the Boundless Blue, just D tier. Ashgraven Drinkenhorn, just HP, so it's going D tier. Wave Ride and Whirl, also going D tier. Ring of Yakshe, also going D tier basically. Etherlight Spindleloot. Energy Recharge is going to be a little bit useless, but it's going to give you a very good amount of elemental mastery, actually 100 from the passive, which is decent, I guess. So I'd keep it at a high C tier probably. I think that's probably the right place for it, just as an elemental mastery stat stick. It could be a little better with refinements, but in general, it's just high C tier, I think. Black Marrow Lantern is going to give you elemental mastery, and it's going to increase your bloom damage and lunar bloom damage, which is super good, and it's a very rare stat to have, especially for lunar bloom DPS. Obviously, it's going to be super good. This is going to be your main free-to-play option. Honestly, I don't recommend using any of these weapons here. I just straight up say if you have this weapon, just use it. It's free, so just craft it, and that's it. So I'd keep it at A tier for now. It's definitely a very decent weapon for Nefer, and you can get by easily with it, especially with refinements. It's going to be pretty good. And then finally, the final 4-star, we have the Dawn and Frost. It's going to give you crit damage as a substat, which is super good. And then it's just going to increase your elemental mastery from the passive, which is also super good for Nefer. I think it's also one of the best weapons for Nefer in general. So if you have it, especially with refinements, it's going to be super good. I'll also put that A tier. I think it's going to be a little bit better than the free-to-play weapon, but in general, they're about the same. But yeah, it's going to be very good and usable for Nefer for sure. Now, moving on to the 5-star options, usually they're not going to be that much better than the other weapons in general across the board, because the high base stack is not really going to matter as much. Best example, we have the Skyward Atlas. It's just attack basically, and then some elemental damage bonus. That all wouldn't really matter as much. I'd just keep it a high C tier. It's going to be the right place for it, even though it's a 5-star weapon. It's not going to be that useful on Nefer at all. Last Prayer can be used as a crit rate stat stick. It can also give you some elemental damage bonus, which can be a little bit useful, but in general, I just just consider it like a crit rate stat stick. So I'll probably keep it like low A tier. It's gonna give you a good amount of crit rate, which is pretty good. Memory of this is just an attack stat stick, so I'll just keep it at C tier. Jadefall's Splendor, it's kind of useless at all. I'll just keep it at D tier. And then same thing with the Everlasting Moonglow. It's completely useless, so I'll just keep it at D tier too. We have Kagura's Verity. You can get a couple of stacks on the passive, and it's gonna increase your elemental skill damage bonus, which is, I guess, decent, but mainly I'll just consider it a crit damage stat stick. So I'd also just throw it at around A tier. I think it's probably the same thing as the last prayer, pretty much. 1,000 Floating Dreams is gonna give you a huge amount of elemental mastery, and the passive, you're probably gonna get some extra elemental mastery because you'd want to play her with a Dendro usually, probably. It's like Lauma or Nahida or whatever. So it's basically just a huge elemental mastery stat stick. Honestly, I don't think it's that good because you can get elemental mastery from many multiple sources. So I don't think you really need it from that much from the weapon. It's pretty good. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna give you more elemental mastery than any of the weapons here. But in general, I don't really think it's, you know, that much better than any of these weapons. So I'd either keep it like very high B tier or low A tier. I'd keep it a high B tier. I think it's just an elemental mastery stat stick at the end of the day, which is the same as a lot of these weapons. So I'd just keep it high B tier. You can argue low A tier, but yeah, it's usually not super good. So Lifeless Remembrance, you can use it as a small crit damage stat stick, but that's about it really. I'd put it like mid B tier. It's not really that good at all. Cashflow Supervision, basically the same thing. You can use it as a crit rate stat stick, but that's about it. So I'll just put it at the same place at mid B tier. Tome of the Eternal Flow can be a better crit damage stat stick, which is pretty good, but that's about it. I'd keep it a very low A tier since it's a very good stat stick. You can get quite a lot of crit damage from it, but other than that, it's not really that good. So it wouldn't be S tier at all. Crane's Echoing Call is just attack, so let's go C tier. Surf's Up, basically the same thing as Neviat's weapon, so I'd also keep it around it. I'd keep it at A tier. Starcaller's Watch is gonna be elemental mastery, a huge amount of elemental mastery. It's basically just a huge elemental mastery stat stick. It's gonna give you even more elemental mastery probably than the 1,000 Floating Dreams. So I'll probably keep it at A tier because it's a crazy amount of elemental mastery, but in general, I don't really think it's super good, so I wouldn't put it at S tier. Basically, the exact same thing with Sunny Morning Sleeping. It's just a huge elemental mastery stat stick. You can probably just get like 300-400 elemental mastery easily from it, so it's gonna be good at that. So I'd keep it at A tier too. I don't think it's S tier level because it doesn't really offer much besides elemental mastery. Vivid Notions, basically just a crit damage stat stick, a small one since it's gonna be high base stack and a low substat. So I just keep it at B tier too. Nightweaver's Looking Glass is gonna be super good, probably one of the best weapons in general for her. It's gonna give you elemental mastery, a huge elemental mastery substat, which is pretty good. And then when you deal Hydro or Dendro damage to your elemental skill, Nefer can deal Dendro damage, so it's gonna work. It's gonna increase your elemental mastery and then increase the reactions damage, including Lunar Bloom, basically, for you, and also helps your whole team. So it's gonna be super good for Nefer and also the team-wide damage. Even though she's gonna be like the main damage dealer in the team, she's gonna be affected by that, which is gonna be super good. It's not gonna give you any crit really, but at least it's gonna give you more than one thing. It's gonna give you the elemental mastery and then the Lunar Bloom damage bonus, which is very rare and you rarely see it on any weapons. So I think this weapon probably deserves S tier. I think it's the only weapon that I would actually put S tier for Nefer. I'll just keep it there. And then finally we have her signature weapon, Reliquary of Truth. It's gonna give you crit damage as a substat, which is super good, and also some crit rate from the passive, so it's already a very good like stat stick weapon. And then it's gonna give you even more crit damage and elemental mastery from the passive, which is gonna be super good. The elemental mastery bonus is gonna be quite small, but it's pretty decent. As I said before, you don't really need elemental mastery that much on your weapon. It's just that we don't really have any other stats to go for, but you can get elemental mastery from many multiple sources, like your artifacts, substats. You can get it quite easily. And then from the passive, it's gonna give you crit rate, which is pretty good, and then also more elemental mastery and crit damage. It's gonna give you a very decent amount of elemental mastery, usually 160, since you're gonna be able to trigger the full passive, and then a 48% crit damage increase, which is also super good. Or wait, not 160. It's gonna be 120 elemental mastery and then 36% crit damage because it's gonna be increased by 50% for the full passive. But either way, it's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna offer you a very rare mix of high amounts of crit rate, crit damage, and then elemental mastery at the same weapon, which is gonna be very rare. So obviously it's gonna be an S tier weapon. I think it's probably gonna be much better than any of the weapons here, honestly. That's why I didn't want to put any weapons at S tier. I think it's pretty far. Usually it's gonna be considered like a higher than average difference in terms of like signature weapons. I think it's gonna be considerably better than the weapons at A tier, and even considerably better than the Nightweaver's Looking Glass. So it's gonna be a very good signature weapon for Nefer for sure, and you're gonna see significant damage increase. probably more in like the 20% or even more. It's considered higher than average. But in general, you do have a lot of decent free-to-play weapons. Also, any 5 stars that can give you elemental mastery can be pretty good too. But I think her weapons are decently free-to-play friendly. Obviously, if you want the maximum best of the best, her signature is going to be good, or at least Lauma's weapon. But you don't really need them for her to function well. But yeah, that was the video, guys. Tell me which weapons you guys are going to be using. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.